Our Collision 2018 coverage is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. Find out all the ways you can benefit from a Prime subscription and get a 30-day free trial by going to collision.live/prime and by audiobooks.com. Get a free 30-day trial and a book to keep by going to collision.live/audiobooks using promo code TRY70. And we have our next guest here. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
So my name is Mike Harvey. I am Head of Strategic Communications for Collision and Web Summit. I help run the event. My particular areas of responsibility, I look after the media and the speakers and all the content on our stages. So thank you for your kind words earlier.
Well, I can say you guys have been great to us for a number of years. We've been doing it since 2015, and your team is fantastic. Yeah, everybody we've ever interacted with has been great. So we have seen, over the years that we've been doing Collision now, we've seen a massive growth, one transition so far, soon to be a second. Tell me about how that's worked for you guys.
Well, I mean, I think so. If you think about our flagship event, so Web Summit started as a 400-person event. So that's where the company started, 400-person event in Dublin in 2010.
Okay.
So and that event has grown in Dublin and now in Lisbon it's going to be 70,000 people this year.
Wow.
So that's quite a lot of folks.
Yes, it is.
And I think that Collision started 5 years ago in Vegas. It started a couple of thousand folk. I think a pretty small number of folk. And then we moved to New Orleans 3 years ago, and then we're at roughly 25,000 people this year. And so we've been growing really fast. I mean, we have we like to try and have a template for our events where we have great content on our stages. We have a lot more content on stage, a lot more speakers speaking on our stages than most other events.
For sure.
And we try and make that content, that stuff as editorially interesting as possible. So there's less what I would call sales talk and straight pitching of I'm a great company, this is why I'm great type stuff.
Fair enough.
So and we try and work very hard. Journalists, I have a team of folk who book our speakers on our stages who are usually ex-journalists, and we try and be editorially really, really strict. So we do content, and obviously we try and put people together. We network people together. It's why our events, we have events within the event. We have workshops and roundtables and speed dating for investors and startups, and a media lounge where the media can gather, an investor lounge where the investors gather, so that they meet people. So the secret sauce, I always say, what we try and do at our events, and other events are very flattering to know that they copy us, is that we try and, people say they come to our events and come to most events. They look at the speaker lineup. They say, that's something interesting. I want to go and watch that. After they've come to our events, they say, we got value from it, from the people that they met.
That's huge.
And that's the thing. So obviously we want to attract people, and we grow because we attract people, and, we sell tickets and all that stuff.
Sure.
But, it's the people they meet that they get value from at our events. So we try and find ways to give people chances to meet the right people, and that's what we really focus on.
I definitely know that the connections that you can make at this conference is so valuable.
Yeah.
We've met so many people, and then we've had stories about them meeting investors and meeting other partners, and it just seems like a very valuable conference.
That's what we try and do. I mean, that the heart of the people meeting people thing is investors and startups, and there's investors are looking for the diamond investment opportunity.
Sure.
There's at our events there is a lot of applicable VC cash knocking around in theory, and there's a lot of startups who are looking for funding or looking for the next move, and we spend a lot of time trying to curate those right meetings, but at the same time, and particularly here in New Orleans, it's about having a great time as well. And so, it's about, going out in the streets in the evening, the parties we put on, and the pub crawls and all that sort of stuff, which is one of the reasons why we feel, today is the last day of our 3-year stint here in New Orleans, and we're moving to Toronto next year. But it's sad. It's going to be there's going to be it's a bit sad to be. Our team will be out on the street. Well, out on the streets. Hopefully not everywhere on the streets, but our team will be out on the streets tonight, and we'll be raising a glass, certainly.
For sure. This has been, it's been fun to watch it transition from city to city, being in the little tents that we were in in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I remember the tent. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, was it?
It was definitely unique. And we actually stay pretty close to that facility when we do CES.
Right, yeah.
So we get to see those every time we go by. We're like, oh, I remember that.
Downtown.
I'm much happier in the convention center with fully functional air conditioning. But this show is very, very different from any of the other ones that we do, and I really like the atmosphere.
Definitely.
There's an energy level that happens in this building that you don't really experience anywhere else.
I think it comes from the passion. Like every single one of these people that we've talked to and interviewed and everyone, they're very passionate about what they do, and I think that's what makes their ideas so important.
Yeah, and I think for us, so we're a startup. We're 8 years old. Paddy and Paddy Cosgrave and his co-founders, they understand what it is to build a company. We're right in the middle of building our company. We've gone from 180. There's about 190 people in the company now. Wow. We recruited about 50 in the last few months, and we're going to recruit another 50 in the next few months. We're growing really, fast.
Yeah.
The events are growing fast, and there's lots of opportunity for us to take this template and put it in other places. But I think that hunger, that passion that we have, is what we try to engender. It's why we have things like Startup University. So we have a stage that's just dedicated to, people who've been there and done it, telling entrepreneurs and others in the audience about how they got to where they are, what the lessons they learned, what were the pitfalls, and to go beyond the, cliche fail fast stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, and, so what we try and think about content that really is going to engage that passion and stuff like that.
Okay. Speaking of the stages, I love the very focused stages. We have one right here in our shot that has been fascinating to watch with the Q&A, people coming off of the center stage and then coming down here and getting to answer questions that they may have brought up in their talks. And the engagement that has happened behind us here has been so fascinating. People are very excited to ask questions of not just, Marlon Wayans Jr. for obvious reasons, but, the president of Microsoft was out here hanging out answering questions. And he was just as interested in answering those as they were interested in asking.
Brad Smith, he's great, and and it's good. When we're thinking about the programming of the content that we do and the Q&A stage, we only started it about a year ago. In fact, pretty much a year ago. And it's a two thing. It's to give speakers the opportunity to get more value of coming to our event by addressing and having another way of talking to people, and getting their message out. But it's a way for the audience that come to get extra value by getting up close and relatively personal with some folk who definitely they wouldn't get close to necessarily. So my favorite always is Mike Massimino, the astronaut. He's just, he wears the NASA badge, and he's a dude, and
that's definitely one of our favorites too.
He's great on stage, but he's also great with the audience on a one-to-one basis. So we don't. The Q&A stages, there's no seating, it's not really planned, and it's quite sort of naked. That's exactly the way we planned it that way. We wanted it to be quite closely interactive.
That feeling, that kind of naked feeling, is kind of part of the environment of the conference as a whole. The stalls are very rustic.
They're chipboard.
They're very rustic looking. The whole thing has that startup feel to it. We should do this.
Yeah, you go to conferences, and I used to be a tech journalist back in the day, and I used to go to stuff, and it's just very corporate and and stuffy
yeah.
uninspiring.
Yep.
And we want to try and we purposely try and break down those barriers. And we purposely try and give it a little bit more, it's a personal interaction thing. People do business, people do good business, people do the best business by making connections with each other and trusting each other. And, so one of the things that Patty often says from center stage is, when you come to our events, just be open to meeting people, be open to chatting to the guy in the queue for the coffee, be open to the guy, as you're walking across the stage, have a chat to the person at the booth, and just say, what are you up to?
Absolutely.
And we say that to our speakers, and we say that to everybody. And that's what we're trying to do.
We've had several of the most interesting, not on camera conversations of the week in bizarre places, like literally on a street corner the other night when we were going from the bar to the club that you guys had taken over. During that walk, we ended up talking to two different people just on the same street corner. The second one joined us.
And it's often the way that what we hear back is the stories of investors finding a startup getting funding, people finding a mentor. Those stories, those conversations happened. Okay, we engineer quite a lot of them, but actually they'd happen everywhere, and we're so pleased when that works.
So let's talk about next year's transition. We're moving to a new city.
Yeah,
city number 3. What can we expect out of our experience?
So I mean, I think it's sad to leave New Orleans, but I mean, I think Toronto is a very exciting prospect for us as an event.
Absolutely.
The Enercare Center, which is this massive convention center, massive conference facilities, that's going to be very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see what we can build within the environs. The potential for further growth within that space is going to be really interesting. But overall, the most interesting thing for us is Toronto is such a globally connected city. It's important for us being such an international conference. There's around 120 countries represented here this week. So it's important for flight connectivity to be good.
Sure.
And there will be a step change between New Orleans and Toronto in that respect. But also, Toronto is by far the biggest city we've ever held an event in. So even in Europe, where the flagship event, which is much bigger, it's been in Dublin, which is, a relatively small capital city, and Lisbon, again, not that big a capital city in global terms.
Right.
So Toronto is massive, lots and lots of millions of people. And, within an hour's flight time, you've got the half the East Coast up there. So it's a big place. There are a lot of tech companies there. There are thousands and thousands of startups. 400,000 people employed in the tech industry in Toronto. The immediate Toronto region alone. They're growing more tech jobs. They're putting on more tech jobs than Silicon Valley did last year for the first time. We think that Toronto is really having a moment, and so we're connecting with the authorities, with Mayor John Tory. We've got the Prime Minister very kindly did a video. That was nice. So we're making those connections, working with the community, and obviously we're hoping to attract lots of people from across Canada, again across America, but also that inclusivity, the diversity of the city is really important, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what we can build in that. I mean, I think I don't think the template of the event is going to change in a huge way, but there's going to be lots of new and different opportunities to do stuff.
Yeah, taking advantage of the environment that you're changing to. I think that's a really good idea.
I think so. Yeah, and the tech community have been very kind already about their enthusiasm for us landing there, and so we'll see what we can collaborate and build together.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. When we got the survey about the cities, we looked at the list. We're like, yeah, all those would work. But I'm excited about all those prospects. Let's do it. And then the announcement, we're like, all right, well, I guess everybody has to make sure their passports are current. But other than that, let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very exciting. And I think that, obviously one of the things that drove our decision, and Patty's talked about this, is that it has been the case. There have been people trying to come to Collision last year and this year who've had visa problems. And I think there's also, it's anecdotally we understand that there's been a bit of a chilling effect about people coming to the U.S. Under the current environment around immigration and regulation and so on and so forth. I think that moving to Toronto, there's definitely a different atmosphere of that, and they do a lot of stuff around work visas. They've got a 2-week visa program and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to see how that pans out. I think that there's quite a lot of stuff out there about tech talent being very much moving towards Canada and in Toronto in particular. So I think that's part of it as well, and we'll see how that pans out. It's a very exciting prospect.
Yeah, we're all very excited about it. If people want to find out more about Collision and the rest of the conferences that the organization puts on, how can they do that?
So they can do that. So collisionconf.com is our website. In the footer of that website are links to all our other events. Web Summit is our main event. It takes place in November in Lisbon. So if you think this is a big deal, then Web Summit is on a different scale. We do an event in Hong Kong, which is our sort of Asian Web Summit. That's in July. That's coming up in too short a period of time. It's about 2 months' time.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah, and in between that, we do a fourth event, which is our fintech event, which is called Conf. That takes place in Dublin this year. So that's a smaller vertical event. Obviously, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, all of that stuff is really interesting. That's going to be a very big, and that's actually we're tripling that event from it was in Madrid. There'll be about 5,000 people in Dublin. So we're very excited. That's the next one. That's about 4 or 5 weeks away. So
very nice.
It's going to. This is we get busy now. And obviously this is the start of it. And then we take a small pause for breath, and then it's Web Summit coming up. So that's good.
Well, we appreciate you coming and talking to us today.
It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Have a good rest of the day
All right.
and
Thank you so much.
the rest of your conferences.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.